See who is available while it's letting you guys know. I want to go live on here more frequently because I want for this to be more of a conversation. It probably will be in the community tab on an ongoing basis, but I'm going to try some times and see what works for both my schedule and for as many people as possible. So I wanted to just hop on here real quick on my lunch break and share a couple of thoughts, because one of the most empowering mindset shifts that I have inherited in my journey, I've spent thousands of dollars on coaching myself, experiences, therapy, all of those things. And one of the most empowering things of all of that, if I were going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money and energy, is that everything is a skill. And as with any skill, the more that you practice, the more support you get, the more guidance you get, the more feedback you get, the more experiential wisdom you get, the more confident you become in that skill. The reason that this is the mindset that I impart on all of my clientele is because when we think of everything as a skill, instead of judging ourselves for the results that we're getting or not getting, we can break it down into something that's actionable, and that's something that we have control over. We don't have control over the outcome, the results, but we do have control over how we're showing up. And in my experience, it's usually an issue with the process that's creating the outcome that we're witnessing. And so when we look at it from that lens, when we talk about dating or relationship breakdowns, a lot of times these are broken down into individual skills too. I was just kind of reviewing some of the comments, getting lots of comments, so I'm having a hard time keeping up with all of them and responding to each of them individually. But I did want to highlight this one. It was talking about not getting dates. The video was around a different skill, and so I just want to point this out, that there are lots of skills that need to be available for something like a relationship to flourish. There are skills depending on where you're at in that process, from asking a woman out, managing your own physiology in that time of stress, turning that into exhilaration energy, from stress and fear into exhilaration. That's a skill. Actually having the conversation, that's a skill that a lot of people struggle with. Being able to translate, getting the phone number, getting the texting conversation going, and then keeping it going is a skill. Going on the date is a skill. So I want to just point this out, not to overwhelm you, but in hopes to break it down to where the skill sets are that you are proficient at, so that you can focus your attention on ones that you want to be developing. In my experience, both personally and as a coach, when we can see where our deficits are, we can tackle it with a little more systematically than we would if it was just this like overarching thing. When it becomes this overarching issue that we have, that's when we start really judging ourselves and feeling inadequate. It's going to bring up a lot of feelings of being incompetent, inadequate, shame, and that is difficult for most nervous systems to be with. Shame's very uncomfortable in our body, and that is usually an indicator. If I were going to put it in a visual representation, I use this one, where the problem is this big and you feel this big, whether it's your skills, your resources, your experience, your support, whatever it is. We want to be able to lift you up to eye and really be approaching the problem from what I call the adult mindset, the adult lens. When we're coming at it like this, it's kind of like a child who's trying to push a full-grown adult. They probably will have to expend a lot of energy and will eventually burn themselves out because they are just not that strong. They're not strong in comparison to a full-grown adult. Whereas an adult, if you were to push an adult body with an adult body, you will probably have enough leverage to get that person to move. This isn't about pushing, don't take that far, but that's the problem that we are experiencing, is our insides, our emotional development or psychological development feels like it's coming like this to the problem. It's kind of only able to meet halfway. It's not ever able to see things from a vantage point where it feels powerful enough to exact change, to create the result that it's wanting to. And that creates a sense of shame. The emotion of shame kind of washes over us when we don't feel like we have what we need in order to create the experience that we're wanting to have. So I like to reframe this for my clients as feeling human. The feeling is just being human. It's letting you know that there is something that needs to be developed. There's something that needs to be raised up. There's something that is needing maybe a little bit more support, a little more propping up to be able to come at it from this eye to eye, adult lens. Typically, and you've probably had this experience, let me know, say hello as you guys are hopping on. You've probably had this experience where you are feeling really capable of taking on a challenge. Maybe it's something that you've done 1,000 times, I don't know, tying your shoes or making breakfast, something that you have enough experiential data points to be like, oh yeah, I've got this, versus something that you haven't tried before. You're really stepping into the unknown. It's going to create this experience for you, and that's normal because you don't have enough data points to know if you have the skills or where your kind of deficits are going to be. Hi, thanks for saying hi. I like doing these lives because when I'm talking to you guys for our weekly videos, it's just me talking to the camera. And I really want for this to be a little bit more of a dialogue style community. So thanks for saying hi. But whenever we are approaching something that we don't know, it makes sense. Hey, Elliot, I'm glad you made it. When we're approaching something that we don't know how it's going to turn out, we kind of are facing the unknown, if you will. It is very likely to create a sense of anxiety or fear because we just don't have enough data yet. We can't be confident in something that we don't have enough data points on, especially confident in ourselves. Hello. Is it Samuel? I'm kind of guessing with your name. Some of your handles are a little bit unique. So hello. Thanks for saying hi. When we don't have enough data points on our own, yeah, the unknown is scary. Absolutely. It can be. It can be. And this is a really great opportunity to practice that reframe of it can be scary or it can be exciting. Those feel very similarly in our body, depending on the story that we tell about it. A surprise party can be exciting, or a surprise at work can feel scary or overwhelming or irritating. So the experience that we're having based on what we perceive is happening and how we are meant to respond to it is what usually tells that story and creates the emotional experience for us. So when we're facing the unknown and really being called to step into something that we aren't familiar with, something that we haven't met within ourselves, it can create a feeling of fear or anxiety or just not feeling as bold or confident as you would like. And it's easy to judge ourselves in those moments. And this is where having some outside eyes can be really helpful, because the reality is someone from the outside probably is not judging you as hard as you're judging yourself, because there is just a human element involved with leaning into the unknown, really blazing your own path, finding your own way, building the skill sets that you need along the way, and learning how to, and one of those skills is actually just learning how to respond to new information, new pieces of data. When we realize, oh, I actually need a little bit of help with that. That didn't turn out the way that I wanted. We can either use that as a reason to not try again, or we can use it as an opportunity to get some extra guidance, get some extra support, learn something new about it, develop that part of ourself. Remember, the masculine energy is always expanding in the face of challenge. And this is usually the paradox, is when we're leaning into the unknown, it feels scary. And yet when we lean in fully, regardless of gender, this really is an energetic quality, because women have masculine energy too, but it is the masculine energy piece that's going to prop you up and say, all right, we've got this. We're actually capable of growing. So going back to that visual, it's possible for us to grow and meet this problem from a new vantage point. We can grow our skills. We can let it be a reflection that we need some different types of support. We need some guidance. We need some mentorship. We need to ask a friend. We need to really break this down into a skill level of like, what skill am I needing next, and work on that skill. That's what's going to allow you to lean in and really watch your masculine energy grow. When you expand your capacity to be with the unknown. Really, I find it's the unknown of not knowing what to expect and will we be prepared for that. That creates a lot of anxiety for people. And especially in relationships, we can't predict the variables. We can observe and learn how to regulate on our own and really feel grounded within ourselves and still lean in courageously, but we don't have a crystal ball. We can't predict exactly how things are going to play out. And so the more that you focus on the skills that you are building, the skills that you will need to be building and really practicing those, the more solid you feel within yourself and that you can trust that you get to take the next step. And when there's another step to pop up, you will take that one too. It's this willingness to expand your skill set and feel really grounded and confident in it that gives you the certainty that you're looking for by staying in your comfort zone. So I wanted to hop on here and talk about that because this is a challenge that I see for a lot of people, and especially when things feel unknown or feel like you're not sure how things are going to go. My encouragement is always to look for what skill is it that's being asked to be developed, and how confident do you feel with that skill set currently, or do you need something else to feel more confident in developing that skill? So those of you guys that are here, let me know if this is resonating, if this is something you've experienced, if you have a specific scenario where the unknown has unfolded for you, maybe in a different way than you thought. I'd love to hear. I'm here for another 10 minutes or so, and then I have to run some errands. I've got to meet my mom after this. So, oh no, hang on, slow down. Okay, thanks for chatting. This week it feels almost like this video was made for me. Oh, perfect, I love that. Ask advice. I'm 17 and I want to learn more skill, but I don't know where or what skill I can start from. That's a great question. Yeah, I'm here for some Q&A. Like I said, I've got another 10 minutes or so, 5 minutes, 10 minutes before I'm going to have to leave to meet my mom to run some errands together. And what I would suggest is looking at it from the lens of skills. I have broken down lots of videos on this channel of specific skills. Last week, or this past Wednesday, I did one of 3 skills to start with. Those are going to be ones that are needed for like a long-term relationship. That translation between meeting someone and letting it develop, the connection develop, is usually where I see things happening where the main way this will play out is where the connection just seems to like fizzle. So that I hear often. That is a very common pattern with my clients, which is why I talked about it in this in last week's video. The 3 scenarios that I gave last week are ones that I see cumulatively happening over and over again. So I wanted to give some light to that. Whenever things are happening in themes, I know it's probably something that more people can benefit from. So I would probably think about, in terms of skills, you have to know what you're actually wanting to create. That's going to help you decide what skills you want to invest in. That would be one route to take, or you can always think about it from the experience that you've already had. Being 17, I don't know how much experience you've already had in the dating space, but when you think about talking to a girl that you find really attractive, how you experience that, that can be a skill to work on too, is really staying grounded. I'm going to read this. Others. I'm not entirely clear on this question. I think I'm getting the vibe of like, why bother if we can't control how other people respond? Clarify that one for me while I'm responding to this other one. But I would recommend looking at where you feel your anxiety come online. I work with a lot of clients who struggle with anxiousness, and this can really be a symptom of you needing some support. Our anxiety, I think all of our emotions are just communicating things to us. They're not good or bad. They just are like kind of messengers. That sounds so cliche, but that is the best way that I have heard it described. And for me, when I hear people struggling with anxiety of like, oh, I just feel so anxious, or I wish I didn't feel so anxious, excuse me, the thing that it's always underneath that is usually a call for more stability, more support. We want to know that we can relax a little bit. That's the opposite, I think, of anxieties. We would like to be calm and neutral or confident even. And if we were to think of it that way, what kind of support do you need? I like to think of like propping clients up from underneath. We want to build the support underneath you so that you can actually relax. There's no reason to come at it from needing to like stack extra things on top of you, because if that's the case, and you're already feeling anxious, and I have experienced anxiety and depression, those symptoms can be very uncomfortable. And usually those are not the opportunities to stack more things on top, is where I'm going with this. What we need in that moment is to relieve some pressure. And we do that by coming underneath and thinking of like, what support do we need to feel like we could relax, or like we could come out of this frozen state, or we could come out of this like hyperactivation. What would we need if that were to happen? So hopefully that helps. Look around for where you feel anxiousness in your life and be curious about what skills you might need to develop to feel more grounded and confident in those areas. Let me see if I can find this one. Okay, so I do need, thanks. Okay, good. I'm glad that landed. I do need support from a woman, just one. I call that embodiment Adura Mater. Yes. I think I don't know that I'm going to be able to answer this in this context. So I hear what you're saying, but I think I would need a little bit more context to actually help you out, and I won't have time for that to go that deep today. But if you do want to set up some time, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that in a one-on-one context. I think that would help be a little bit more insightful for me to understand where your challenge point is. It's hard to respond just via text. So keeping an eye on the time here. But I want to hear as well, next week we're going to be talking a little bit more about skills that the feminine needs to embody, not from a space of perfection, just like this week's video isn't the expectation that you're doing that perfectly. These are things that we are practicing because they help us feel more sturdy and stable in our life. They also naturally help with us creating a relationship. They're transferable skills, if you will. They're ones that are going to not only help you feel grounded and stable in every area of your life, but also are going to be the foundation for creating that connection that lasts with one person, or if you're needing, to date for a while and figure out who your person is. Those are skills that you are going to be wanting to develop as well. So if that is of interest to you, I would invite you to be ready next Wednesday when that goes live. I also have put the longer form version of that in my program Rooted. It was closer to 45 minutes or an hour training. Next week obviously is going to be not that long because it's going to be a little bit more high level. But if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to check that out on Wednesday. The other thing that I wanted to share is I did a masterclass. I do a themed masterclass each month. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Last month was on rejection and really uncovering what is keeping you from making moves like you would like. These bold, courageous moves usually are tied to our fear of what people will think, if they will respond negatively, if we will be rejected. It's a really painful experience, and when we don't have the skill of navigating that particular experience, it's really difficult for anyone to show up wholeheartedly and really courageously, and especially when it comes to creating a romantic dynamic. When that fear is what is kind of like blocking you or keeping you safe, you will not only collapse in relational moments, you will also probably find that you're not playing as big of a game in the rest of your life too. When we have this fear of rejection, we don't put our creative ideas out there. We aren't problem solving at the level that we could. We are kind of playing it safe a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with playing it safe, but there is a lot to be learned and a lot to be gained on the edge of our comfort zone. And that is where that class is kind of designed to take you to explore this kind of edge of your comfort zone so that you can live more in that area. That's usually what I find is more enlivening for people. They have this like turned on like juice, like amped up in their own life. They're excited about things. They bring their unique problem solving, their unique lens to things, and they're able to really play at a level that they feel proud of. So that masterclass is actually a community style as well. It is housed within Telegram right now, so you can listen to the audio training and then you can interact with other people that are in that room if that feels good to you. This month's masterclass is going to be on letting a woman know that you're not interested. There's probably been experiences where you've had where either she's more into you than you are to her, maybe you met in person, you didn't even like initiate, and she is really interested in you. How to have those conversations. We go into specific scenarios, some scripts that you could say. It's going to be really juicy as well, so feel free to check that one out. I'm seeing a couple more comments on here, and then I'm going to have to hop off. All right. What if you had that fear your entire life and women don't give you a shred of notice? That's a really good question. In my experience, again, both personally and in walking a lot of people through these conversations, have observed that these injuries typically happen early on. So it probably does feel like you've had this for your entire life because they are usually happening early enough to create an injury that keeps us from wanting to try again. We associate that behavior with pain, and the earlier that happened, the more that we are going to have that association, because it's been now, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of every time we touch the stove, we get burned. We stop touching the stove. That's kind of innate to human development. We don't create exposure to pain on purpose. It's usually a result of us making an association like that and not being sure how to allow that to heal. So that the best way that I've heard it described is like if you touched the hot stove when you were 2 years old, everything that you see that's red isn't necessarily a hot stove. But if that is kind of seared into your brain, metaphorically, you are going to be looking at things from a different perspective. It's going to be limiting what you reach for because there is this like innate fear of, I don't want to experience that again. So if that feels like it's been around for a long time, I just want to say it probably has. The resource that I'm talking about, the audio training, does go into and gives you an exact process that lets you start to uncover where those stories may have gotten started. They're different for everybody, and that's the benefit of a little bit of self-reflection, a little bit of personalized guidance. I have some guided journal prompts in there as well, and sharing your story. Being able to hear other people talk about it is a really great way to heal too, because we hear our story in other people's stories, and it gives words to things that we didn't quite know how to describe, but we deeply understand. So I hope that's helpful. All right. It's mostly other people, namely women's always negative and uncertain feedback. I've never had a comfort zone around women except one in my life. Also, I think that's probably very common too. I have conversations with a lot of people who have uncertain experiences or have kind of repeat patterns of experiences. And that is why the work that I was doing with women for the last 5 years was not just healing their dating reality. We were having to go a little bit deeper and heal how they relate to the masculine at large, the collective masculine, and that shows up in lots of ways. Once we are able to look at it from a different lens and get underneath that very real experience and fear and the emotions that go along with that have been reinforced over and over again, once that is no longer the trigger, you start seeing people neutrally. They started to see men not only just neutrally, they were seeing like, oh, you're not my ex, you're not going to do the same thing. You're not my dad, you're not going to do the same thing that I am afraid of. They were able to see the person that was in front of them and even see them in a positive light. They were able to let themselves be surprised and have what I call a corrective experience where the thing that they were afraid of happening was the opposite of what actually happened. And this really, we can only get to that point when we feel neutral enough to see the person in front of us and to trust ourselves enough that we feel like we have the agency to leave if we need to. If things were to go in that direction, we know I will remove myself. To have those boundaries is actually what allows you to stay put long enough and feel safe enough to let the other person correct that story for you. It can be really, really beautiful work. So I want to just normalize that. All right, in my experience, completely dissociating from wanting a partner makes you more confident and happier. As soon as you no longer want it, you will get it. Not wanting something anymore means you have to change your character and motivations to want something else also. So you're no longer needy. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think there is an element of feeling grounded in your own life and your own sense of self that is naturally magnetic to people. And especially when you feel centered and secure within yourself, other people who are living in that way and are wanting a healthy, secure partner naturally are going to be attracted to you. You're probably also going to be attractive to people who have their share of wounds and are inspired by you. So it then becomes a filtering process. That's why I teach a lot of things to look for, so that not so that you're like scanning the scene for every red flag that's available, but so that you feel confident in your decision making and you're able to have the skill of sorting through, no, this isn't going to be a good fit for me, or yes, this is going to be a good fit for me. So yeah, that makes sense. And it does allow you to create the life that feels really exciting and invigorating for you. So what if we still don't ever even get to the point you described? The possibility is still there. Like the possibility of things going well is still there. The possibility of being hurt is still there. I'm not quite clear on that one. The possibility of both is always going to be there, I think. We can't predict with certainty everything. And if that is the thing that you're needing, there are lots of really great therapists, coaches, guides, healers. There's lots of people out there that can support you in developing that skill and healing that piece that is like needing exact certainty. For me, and for the clients that get great results from the work that we do, there is an element of needing to trust yourself. And that comes with both learning something new, seeing something from a different perspective, and seeing yourself show up differently in that context. That's what builds that grounded confidence, that experiential wisdom, because we don't know for certain, but are we able to be with the emotions that come up along the way, and can we take the feedback and the guidance and keep moving in a direction that feels right until we have further feedback. Really, we have to take a step and then see what happens, and that's where having some support of some capacity, therapist, coach, mentor, friend, whatever, having some support can be really helpful in that way, so that when you get some feedback, if it's somewhere that you've never ventured into before, you have someone to either bounce that off of, or you have the skill sets and you have developed enough of that muscle for yourself that you, that you're able to stay grounded and stay present enough that you can see things clearly. So, all right, I'm going to have to hop off here. Like I said, I've got to meet my mom to do some errands. So I will be doing some more lives. These are also going to be happening in the members group. I hope to do these more often. I'm going to do a live Q&A at least once a month in the members group to answer specific questions. There will be a question box where you can leave your comments, details, all the things, and I can do some live coaching in that way. And I'm thinking for this next monthly masterclass, having a little Q&A time too, because I love having this be more conversational. It's really fun for me to have questions to work with, and I want for it to be really valuable for you. So if you want just the audio training, the Bold Masterclass, I will put a link for that below. And if you want to join the masterclass for this month, comment I'm in, and I'll send you the link for that, and you can get that signed up. So, all right, well, I hope you guys have such a beautiful weekend. I'll see you guys next week, and yeah, let me know if there's any other questions that come up for you that you want some content around. I love building content that way too. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.